All right, hello and welcome to the Business Accelerator series number 10. And today we'll be talking about competition and how to create beyond competition and how we allow competition to sort of allow ourselves to stop creating a business based on every time we perceive competition. So what exactly is competition? So before I get started, if any one of you would have any questions to ask or anything that you perceive about competition in business, what is your take on it? What questions do you have? Or have you faced competition in business or otherwise also? Any one of you, if you have any questions, we can start with that.
Competitions are a threat.
Okay, that's interesting. What else? So,
Smriti, can I raise a question other than competition? Like for me right now, my business is at rock bottom. So I am thinking that 2023, there has to be absolutely a new mindset. This is my thing on my mind.
okay. So what is your question like? Where is the question here? What mindset should you have? Is that what you're asking?
No, it's the thought on my mind. Like when I just read the business thing, so I was just wondering where to start. Competition comes when you are at certain level, So right now, I will say my problem is survival of my business.
Interesting. So we'll be talking about all this, what Janice,
Okay.
what you said,
Thank you.
and a lot more. Does anyone else have any questions? Purva, Moksha, any one of you? Harishri, welcome everyone. All right, so let's get back to Janice here right now. So Janice, when you mentioned competition is a threat, right? What do you mean by that? Like, how do you perceive it as a threat?
So I perceive it as, so whenever in business, you supposing for one client, a particular client, you have given a quote and the competitor has given a quote. There is a very thin line, where you have to succeed. And that's where the relationship comes into the picture, your relationship with the customer. That's the only thing that is the, point where you can either take the order or you can't take the order.
Okay, that's interesting. So when you perceive competition, this is for everyone in general. But once you perceive competition, first of all, you need to actually acknowledge that how good you are. You have to acknowledge your own value and worth. That people are actually looking at competing with you. So acknowledge where you are already. Okay. Now, when Ranjana said, I have to reach a certain point to perceive competition, it doesn't have to be like that, Ranjana. And how much are you looking at others creating, and then you're judging yourself based on that? So start becoming present to what energy are you being with your business, and what have you decided or what have you concluded about yourself and your business that's not allowing you to choose more. So what happens is, like, when you're looking at creating a business, you start looking at everything has to be perfect before I can go beyond. That does not really create. You just get started and keep on improvising, keep on choosing more and more and more, and things start shifting and changing. So let's get back to what we were discussing. Okay, so okay, so most of us have learned that in order to succeed or make it, okay, we have to do competition, so to prove how good we are. But all that is just crap. It does not really create much. Okay. Thing is, if you know who you are, if you trust yourself, if you are willing to not buy into competition, then you're not going to be worried about it. There'll be just a major sense of peace, there will be literally deep joy, and there'll be a silence that actually sings thousand songs. It's just that space that you're holding for yourself and your business, where you're not willing to get pulled into that competitive space where you trust yourself and you know how good you are, and you know that no matter what happens, you will still get that account or you will still create greater. So what happens when every time you perceive competition, you start going into comparison. Okay, this is what's going on. Maybe it's not a good idea, or that doesn't create much. Just let me mute everyone. Hold on. That. Right, so that does not really create much. Now, especially while we're talking about competition, how many of us use that as an excuse not to choose greater for ourselves? Or how many of us use that to as an excuse to not really create for yourself? Just be aware of that. What are we being energetically that is limiting all that we can be choosing and creating? Because where are we choosing to make other people greater than us? Because the moment you start seeing, oh, those guys are doing so well, you start judging yourself for not doing well enough or as well enough. So that does not really create. Okay. And then you start looking at excuses to not really create for yourself. Now, you'll always have someone or something else to blame if you're not 100% committed to you. So you'll say, oh, those guys are very competitive, or this facilitator is being this energy, or that facilitator or that particular business is being that energy, or whatever. So that's the reason why you are not able to choose. It doesn't have to be like that. What is your excuse for not choosing and creating? Where are you looking at other people creating their life? And instead of choosing to be inspired, where are you holding yourself back and judging yourself? So just be very aware of that. You can look at the way people are creating their lives. You can choose to be inspired by them. You can choose to outcreate them. You can choose to use a similar energy to create greater for yourself too. But the moment you go into self-judgment based on when others are performing better than you, then you are only limiting yourself. And that's when that whole space of competition comes in, and that does not really create much. Okay. So let me do a clearing here. For those of you who are new to Access and who are not aware of the Access clearing statement, you can check out accessclearingstatement.com. And what this does is the clearing statement goes back to that point in time when the issue got created, or that point of creation of that issue. It might be from this lifetime, it might be from some other lifetime also, but whatever stuck points of view that are holding you back, so it starts clearing on that. So every time we use the Access clearing statement. So what insane points of view do you have that are not allowing you to create what you desire and deserve with total ease? And everything that is times a gazillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all, please? Right, wrong, good, bad, what, online, short, voice, forwards, and beyond. So ask, okay, every time you perceive competition, every time you are looking at, oh, those guys are doing so well, and look at me, who are me? Or I'm nowhere. That's where you're going into comparison, and that's not really creating much. So ask, okay, whose points of view is this? And what is my point of view? Sometimes you need to realize when there are certain situations which are triggering you. Be very present with those trigger points, and say, okay, cool, what exactly is going on here? Does this trigger belong to me? Or who does this belong to? Or what exactly is going on here? How old am I being? Or who am I being? Sometimes you'll realize you're just being maybe your dad or your mom or someone else, right? Or maybe a sibling. So the fear or those triggers might not even belong to you. So where are you looking at stopping yourself? So whose points of view is this? And what is my point of view? And so destroy and uncreate all the points of view that you have about money, business, investment, debt, all of it, okay, including competition. So what is your financial reality? what is your reality with business? What would you like to create? If you were to have your own way, what would you like to create? We are very busy trying to fit in with other people, and because somewhere we've decided they have a good thing going, so we try and be like that. But what is your reality? What is fun for you? That's what you have to focus on, and that's what you have to bring forward, right? And a lot of times we will not choose to create more in our business because somewhere we are just looking at, we just get distracted with how others are creating. So let me talk a little bit more. How many of you literally stop yourself when you perceive competition? What happens? Let me open this question to everyone. What happens when you perceive competition? Would anyone of you like to unmute and speak? What happens? In general, it doesn't have to be about yourself, but in general, what happens when you perceive competition? What exactly happens? Any one of you?
We start doubting ourselves and lose trust on ourselves. And we go into the, I don't think I mean, it'll take me so many years to reach this stage or, and I wish I could be as good as that person, and someday I would do it, and we get into that.
Okay, so what you've done is you've just made that person greater than you.
Yeah.
You can look at people and be inspired by them and ask to duplicate that energy that you enjoy, that's calling out to you. So it might be the energy of the way they create, or it might be the energy of the way they speak up or show up in the world, or it might be the energy of the knack of really creating bigger businesses, or whatever it is that's inspiring you about that person. Ask to duplicate that energy with consciousness attached, right? So what you're doing is you're not imposing on them, you're not holding them back from creating their life. But you're also looking at, you're also not judging yourself, but you're like, wow, how cool is that? What will it take for me to duplicate that energy of creation with consciousness attached? When you say consciousness attached, what you're doing is you are not willing to take on, or you're just, so what happens is you have no idea what all those people have gone through to reach where they are. So you're not looking at inviting all those issues also into your space. So when you say with consciousness attached, you are just asking only for that creative energy, or that energy of, public speaking, or whatever it is that inspires you about that person. So that's what you're asking to choose. Now, what is Komal right? Okay, fear to be a loser. Okay. So these are all judgments, Komal. These are all just judgments. Okay. Losers, failing, all that is just, so let's talk a little bit about failure here, 1 minute. Failure is just something that did not show up the way you had envisioned, right? So when you start becoming aware of that, just because you had envisioned something, or you were looking at creating something and it did not show up the way you wanted to, that does not mean like you failed. It just has shown up in a different way. And if you did not consider that as a failure, and if you looked at it as, okay, wow, interesting. What insight did I gain from this? What more awareness did this whole situation create? And what do I have to be able to outcreate that and choose so much greater, right? That's what will allow you to outcreate that failure. And sometimes we invite that space, or that we don't necessarily invite failure, but we, at times, that failure gives us such great lessons which otherwise we were not willing to even look at, right? So once you go through that phase, there's so much of learning that you can actually now implement into whatever you're looking at choosing next. But when you start looking back at, oh, I'm creating this, but I should not create it, last time I failed, or last time this happened, when you're looking at that past failure as a reference point, that will not create, or it would end up creating another failure with a slight difference in theme. So just be very aware of that. Whatever is gone, let it be. Don't continue looking at that as, don't keep referencing that to choose a next business or the next possibility. Always create your business from more possibilities. Okay, what else is possible? What else do I need to be and do here? Instead of looking at, oh, last time I did this and this happened. Because then you are inviting the similar pattern to yourself. So just be aware of that. Okay, and then competition for me means constantly performing and doing better than others in order to prove myself. Who do you need to prove? Bhagyashree. The thing is, Moksha, I'll just come to you. So when you're looking at proving, somewhere you've already decided that you're not good enough, or there is something missing, right? And that does not really create. When you trust yourself, when you believe in yourself, and when you are willing to be totally present with all your creations, that fact, when you're not looking to be validated by anyone, then there's no urgency of proving or constantly trying to fit in with others, or trying to look at what others want or how they would look at what would want you to create. You need to also realize that most people, when they look at you, each one of you, most people, when they look at you, they see and acknowledge the potency and power of you. Okay, but they hope and wish and pray that you don't see that about yourself, because you choosing to be the potency and power of you and creating from that space is going to make them insecure, is going to make them aware that now they'll also have to choose greater for themselves. And most people are very happy being in the comfort zone. So they'd rather keep, it suits them to see you limited and small, right? So when you're looking at constantly trying to prove yourself to others, how much are you playing into their game of keeping you small and limited? And that's how to create. Okay, so be very aware of what exactly you're doing and the energy that you're being. Yes, Moksha.
Hi, good morning. My question was, what if we choose, like we are aware of the possibility and then we choose something, and then later on after choosing it, you go into the doubt. Is it going to contribute? Am I have not taken a wrong decision? So that time, a lot of negative thoughts, we can say, comes up. So how do we deal with that basically? Because
Okay,
we already paid for it. For example, we have chosen any of the class. Okay. After that, it shows up. We haven't taken a wrong decision.
so okay, so be very present to the energy when you were choosing the class. What's about that class that was calling out to you? Okay, and now if you have any judgment about the, say for example, if you have any, you choose a particular class, but if you have any judgment about that particular facilitator, or maybe you had a word with someone and they might have said something, so instead of the moment you judge that person, you stop receiving from them. You'll cut off all your receiving because now there is a judgment in place. So what exactly is going on? Now, who's putting all these doubts in your head? What is your reality and what would you like to create in the world? What would contribute to you? So instead of looking at how others are choosing, or instead of going ahead and choosing something, even a class, for example, just because others are choosing, that might not create. Just always ask, okay, okay, this is what I'm looking to do. Who will contribute the most? Okay, which facilitator can I choose? And then just go follow the energy. Not because other people are recommending or other people are saying, but what are you aware of? Okay. Also, you can play with this like, if I choose this facilitator for this particular class, or if I choose this particular class, what would my life be 5 years from now? And then just follow the light and heavy of whatever it creates. 5 years is far enough into the future, yet close enough for you to get an energetic awareness of what that choice will create. So if making that choice is lighting you up, it's really light, it's expanding, it's like space, you get sense a space of expansiveness, that's the choice for you. But if it is heavy and it's like, let me think about it, or let me see, then that's not really necessary for you. But if you're looking at, oh, I don't have the money right now, so how can I choose it? That might not be a good way to create, because the moment you choose, the money just starts showing up. Okay. The choice, your choice is what it creates for you. So be very present to the different ways in which you are putting your own roadblocks in your way, and looking at the reasons why you can't choose something where you're making money an issue, or look at, okay, cool, whose projections am I working on, or whose projections am I choosing to be the effect of? Whose lies, what lies, and how many lies am I using to stop all that I can be choosing? So be very present to what exactly is going on. Are you creating and choosing based on other people's projections, which is very likely, which is done very subtly. Sometimes, we are so much more aware of what others want of us, or what's going on in their world, and what they would like of us. And mostly, even though people are your well-wishers, it suits them to see a limited version of you, because in that way they can have more control over you, or they can have more of your time. Then they might not necessarily look at stopping you, but they might just want more of you, or more energy, right? So sometimes you just have to be very present with that. So ask, okay, I chose this, so what exactly is going on? And so what exactly is going on for you, Moksha? Which class have you chosen? Or even, I mean, what choice have you made which is making you now doubt that choice? You don't
So
have to take
there is some kind of situation going around in my family. It's with my husband only. So it's of course related to money part. And I have chosen already South Africa 6-day event.
Okay.
So so the thing is that do he requires me here? I'm like, I'm not taking the wrong decision to go over there for South Africa 6-day event. So so when I chose, the excitement was amazing. And right now, uh, basically, my husband's partner has cheated him. So a lot of police things and lawyer things are going on as of now. It's been 3 months now, but still, it's like slowly, it's working on.
Okay. Cool. So everywhere you're being made to feel guilty for choosing for yourself while he's going through stuff. Will you not destroy and uncreate that, please? Like from good
Yes.
or lunch on 44 and beyond. And also, uh, whatever is going to create the maximum change, we tend to usually run away from that. So those 6-7 day classes, those events really contribute very dynamically. They really start creating a lot of change. So sometimes we are aware of that change and we're scared to step into that. So it's okay if all that is coming up. Just go with what made you choose early. Just go with that lightness of that. Okay, because I know personally, like I had to attend a BU class, my very first BU class, and I was like, I went and attended the intro part of it, and then I was like, okay, should I choose it or not? I have the book. Do I really need to attend the class? And then the book is just maybe 1% of what the class was all about, right? And I chose it the next day, but I reached the class not before 11:30 because my daughter was unwell and stuff, and I just couldn't make it on time. But I also acknowledged that that was one class that I was literally running away from. And even when I went there, I couldn't stay there like post 3 o'clock because I just knew I had to get back home. My daughter wasn't well, and I couldn't sit in that class. I just was so uncomfortable. Then the next day, I went again for the class. It took me at least just 1 minute. So what was I saying? Yeah. So the next day I tried on maybe 50 different outfits to be able to just choose that class or what to wear. I couldn't decide. And I realized I was just distracting myself from choosing that class. But that is one class that really opened up such huge spaces for me. So whatever, sometimes when you're being perceived that massive change, we look at all possible reasons for not choosing that. Also, especially, mostly we'll end up creating a lot of issues within the family because they do not want you to change. They will not be able to find you or locate you in time and space. So that's something, be very aware of that, right? So because your being changes so much with these classes. So you can just send them sort of an energetic email or just sort of reassure them that I am there energetically. Just include them to be part of the class energetically and see what starts changing. Cool.
Yeah, thank you, Smriti.
You're welcome. I hope that contributes to your choice of whatever you're looking at.
Yeah. So for me, the access classes are so amazing. I mean, if money wasn't the issue, I would have chosen all the classes of access.
Exactly. So truth is money really the issue. When you make a choice, the universe responds to that particular choice. Okay. The universe, if you're focusing on, oh, I don't have the money, that's why I can't choose it, then the universe says, okay, cool, let her keep sitting and waiting. And someday when she has the money, we'll see what's to be done. But when you are, so that's something that I always follow and I believe in and I trust. And it's my most favorite quote, which is the universe always, always, always falls in love with a stubborn heart who chooses not to give up. So if there is something that you want, just go for it. Make that choice. Whether you have the money or not is not your problem. How you create and choose that is not your problem. Focus on what you want. Focus on what is it that you desire, what you're looking to create, what are you looking to choose, and just go ahead and choose that. And the whole universe will respond to that choice and make things happen for you. Okay, that's when things start shifting. Otherwise, there are hazard excuses that you can give yourself. There are a whole lot of roadblocks that you can create for yourself. Oh, this is what is more important, or my kids need me because their exams are going on, or whatever it is, right? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So
And what if we check out, at some moment you just go blank. Okay, jo hoga wo dekhenge. And like, it's okay. So how do we deal with that? And sometimes you actually check out from yourself.
when you check out, you are not choosing to be present in your body at that moment. You're like literally puppeting your body, and that when you're making choices based on that, that does not really create.
So what clearing can we use there so that we don't check out?
It's again first a choice, and see everywhere I'm checking out instead of being totally present with and dealing with whatever's going on with me. I now just try and uncreate it all, right, wrong, good, bad, what, all and short point, hope, and syndromes.
Yeah, thank you. This is like I can sense the energy. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, now getting back to competition. Okay, no competition. So first of all, every time you're perceiving competition, start becoming aware of, look at yourself, okay, and see and acknowledge and know that you are more unique than you ever know. You're more unique than what you've ever acknowledged yourself to be. And you also acknowledge that maybe you're very different, and that is okay. Your difference is a gift. Okay. You are the only one of your kind, and whatever you do is different from what anybody else can ever do or be, right? So what is the difference that you can bring to your business? What is so unique about you that you can bring to your business, right? When you're perceiving competition, look at what are they doing. Are they copying you, or are they trying to see? What happens mostly with people is that they'll try and pull you down, or they will not acknowledge you, or they will not really validate certain things, or they will just
Like, his talk reflected as if we are very inhuman. Because what his father was saying is that from second standard to 10th standard, till right at 2 o'clock, she's making question papers.
Oh.
Shikhanas.
I think first I thought it was a question that was being asked. Okay, anyways, disregard. All right, so when you acknowledge that you are the only one of your kind and you're very different from others, when you acknowledge that, then you can begin to see that there is no one who can actually compete with you, right? So anytime you need to be right, or you need to win, or you need to not lose, someone had written, right, we'll lose otherwise, you're doing competition. Anytime you're choosing to function from that space, you are actually doing competition, and that does not really create. Okay, now anytime you want to be, yeah, that is competition. So whenever you're trying to get somebody to side with you or against somebody else for whatever reasons, whether it is someone you work with or it's someone you are in relationship with, again, you're doing competition, and that does not really create. Okay, that's where you are not willing to trust yourself. So what is the antidote to competition? The antidote is to ask questions and literally get out of conclusion. Okay, how much are you concluding certain things which is not really creating for you? So when you start asking questions, that starts changing things around. So when you make the choice to sort of go into, I feel this way, that is the beginning of competition. Because somewhere, what if you acknowledge that the feeling that you're perceiving is actually an awareness that you're getting, and say, wow, interesting, this person is choosing to compete with me. How does it get any better than this? And what do I have to be and do to outcreate this? And then just leave it at that. You don't have to go into, oh my God, how dare this person do this? What does this person think of themselves? And it's not, what you're doing is, when you're focusing more on the competition, is you're choosing to distract yourself from everything else that you can actually be choosing and creating for yourself. So that you go into more of distracting yourself, and that does not really contribute to you. Okay, so now, when you're feeling something, and as I mentioned, that is competition, and as you take another step down that road, and you're trying to make right the way that you feel, just realize that at that moment you say, okay, I feel, say that to yourself, I feel you're locking yourself into a limited point of view and starting the competitive process. And everywhere I'm doing that, I now destroy and uncreate it all, right from good, bad, what, online, short, voice, over, and beyond. So everywhere you are locking yourself into a limited point of view, every time you're perceiving competition and starting the competitive process, will you now destroy and uncreate that tree, right from good, bad, what, online, short, voice, over, and beyond. What if you turn the paradigm and look at the contribution and acknowledge the contribution that you truly need? So if you start seeing yourself as a contribution, then most other people can't help but see you as a contribution as well. So instead of doubting yourself, or instead of thinking I would, like, if people compete with me, I would lose, or they will end up getting the account, that's why you're choosing to make them greater, right? But when you look at the contribution that you are, then others will also will perceive that energy and will also start looking at you as a contribution, and then they will choose you, right? It's a contribution that you're being is what is reaching out to more people more than anything else. So you would have noticed there will be people who will be talking all airy-fairy and talking very highly about themselves, and they'll say all sorts of things. But when you actually choose them, you realize nothing really has shown up, or it's not really contributed to you. It's always about them. But so be willing to perceive that energy. That's what will make people choose the contributive energy is what people are looking for. And when you're being that, when you're literally living that energy is what people start perceiving and start choosing based on that. Where you're not willing to make yourself less. And frankly, every time somebody is doing competition, they're also functioning from the point of view that there is not enough in the world, or somebody is taking your share of the pie. It's not like that. Okay, what if you acknowledged and were willing to receive the abundance in the universe? When you look at nature, what's the first thing you perceive? There's just so much of abundance in everything. If you look at a fruit tree, it's loaded with fruits, right? The fruit tree doesn't have this point of view that, you can only take one fruit because then there won't be enough left for the others. It has no point of view. You want to take, okay, cool. And if nobody takes it, it'll fall to the ground and it'll, just be one with the earth, or there'll be more trees that might sprout out and whatever, right? If you look at the stars, there are millions of stars in the sky. If you look at leaves, the leaves on the trees, there's millions of leaves on each tree. So there is always abundance. So what if you could actually start tapping into that and know that there's plenty for everyone? What if you were looking at with what you're creating? What if it was more action oriented and not reaction based? What if you were not looking at getting charged up when someone else is creating, and then that is charging you up and saying, okay, I also need to put out things? What if you could just literally relax into receiving, own your brilliance, own and acknowledge your capacities, own and acknowledge your value and worth, and trust yourself, and just be willing to just relax into receiving everything? What would that create? Isn't that such a yummy way of creating? Instead of being really hyper and trying to pull someone else down, or trying to see how others are creating and then judging yourself, oh, I'm not creating enough, or that's not going to create. So what are you aware of? What contribution can you be? What do you bring to the table? Own and acknowledge that. Where are you not willing to see yourself as the most valuable product? When you own and acknowledge the valuable product that you are, that's what people start seeing and perceiving about you, and then they start choosing you. Okay, so every time you walk out, every time you're interacting with people, just own and claim and acknowledge the valuable product you truly are. What if you did not have to make yourself less for anyone else? What if you did not have to fit in with anyone else? What would that create for you? Okay, and be willing to let go. Whatever you're not willing to lose, or whoever you're not willing to lose, will control you. So if you're not, say, suppose you are in a business and you're pitching for a particular account, give it all you have. But if they are making you do things that is not really fun for you, if they are demanding stuff that is not really what you would be providing for them, and they're just literally they treat you like, oh, I've paid you, now this is what you need to do. These are the things that you need to do, and you have to be available at my beck and call and all that. And if that is not fun for you, be willing to let them go. It's okay. There'll be other accounts that will show up. Ask for more contributive people to show up. Ask for more contributive businesses to have your business with, or like have your business dealings with, and see what starts showing up. The moment you start making yourself less and catering to everybody else's whims and fancies and their demands, that's when you're not willing to acknowledge the valuable product you are. And if that is not light and not fun, it's anyways killing the whole business for you. So owning and claiming the valuable product that you are is what will start changing things for you. That's actually the game changer. Okay, so when others do not see themselves as a contribution, then they will see you as competition. So if you've been accused by other people of being very competitive, it's because they're not willing to see themselves as a contribution. So they will try and pull you down because they see you as competition. So be very aware of that. It's not about them, It's not about you, it's about them, right? So if you feel others are pulling me down, it's because they are seeing you as competition, right? So that's not your problem. You still keep on choosing and out creating and choosing more and keep on out creating. Yeah, what contribution would that be? Okay. Now, the cool thing is, if you know you're a contribution, then other people can have any point of view about you and it just doesn't affect you. It's not going to affect you because you know the contribution that you are, right? And even if someone is trying to do competition, you can actually choose to go to gratitude for somebody, for them, right? So when you be gratitude, it often, when you being the energy of gratitude, it often dissipates the people's need to compete with, because they're busy competing, but you are very grateful to have them in your world, or you are very grateful for all those times when they've actually been there for you. When you turn that into gratitude, and see, people respond to the judgments that they feel you have about them. So let's take, for example, in business, when you are interacting with people, or otherwise also, even in relationship, when you're interacting with people, and people are talking to you, they are being a weird energy, or they're fighting with you, or they're like getting really angry and they're responding to something. That's the time to lower your barriers, let go of all the judgment that you have about the person in front of you, and pull energy from them. When you do that, then there is nothing that they can respond to, right? They are usually responding to either by avoiding or defending the judgment that they perceive that you have about them. I hope I haven't confused you guys. Okay, good. So that's what starts changing. Let me give an example as how you can make things literally shift the energy. So I long back I had to attend this maestro class. This was a few years ago, and it's just once a year. And that's the time my husband chose to go on a trekking trip with his cousins and friends. And they just happened to decide the same dates. The dates were clashing, and we didn't want to leave my daughter behind alone at home for like good 10 days or so. So we were like, okay, now how do we go about it? So only one of us could choose to go. And so he was like, no, you need to take care of the house, you need to be at home, you were neglecting the house, and you're just traveling all the time and things. And he started off saying all those things. Now, I knew he was being very unreasonable here. And I knew at that time he was very angry. So there's nothing that I would have said would have changed things around. So I just didn't say anything. I just lowered my barriers. I let go of all the judgments that were coming up because he was being that energy with me. You can also get really angry. I just let go of all that. And I started looking at, and I started pulling energy from him. And no judgment in my space at all. Nothing to respond to. So he said it for a while. And then he was like, cool. He just came around because there was nothing to respond to, because I'm not giving him any fodder in the form of judgment. He just turned around and he's like, I really know how much you love these trips, and I know how much you enjoy these classes, and it's okay, I will just change the thing around. So he, in front of me, he just picked up the phone and he messaged that group, put in the message in that group that I won't be able to join for the trek. And I was like, wow, that was easy. It just took literally 7 minutes of just being totally present without any judgment for him to change things around. So you don't have to be always in a fight or flight mode. You can just relax into receiving all that you desire. It can literally be that simple. And the thing is, you don't have to give up on yourself. So when he was leaving for his trip, he was leaving on a flight, and he's like, he was looking at the trekking bag, which was all packed and ready, and he's like, oh, should I carry this? But what's the point? I will not get to go, because he was supposed to continue for the trek from Delhi. I said, just carry it, you never know. So he carried his trekking bag with him. And so when he reached Delhi, his mom said, you know what, I will go over to Bombay and stay there and you can continue for your trip and Smriti can also go for her trip. So that's how it worked out. My mother-in-law chose to come over and then both of us got to do what was fun for us. So if you're not willing to give up on your choices, the universe has a way around to make things happen for you, right? So what I wonder, what choices are opening up for you now from this perspective? What can you choose now? And if giving up was not an option, what would you choose with everything? Okay. Now, every time, like I was talking about, when someone has gratitude for you, how you be and how you show up. When others have gratitude for you, you also start having gratitude for yourself, right? And that by itself will often start to dissipate the competition, because when you are competing, you're buying the lie that you have no value, and that does not really create. Okay, so ask the clearing that you can say, okay, so what energy, space, and consciousness can I be to know, perceive, and receive the contribution I truly be? And everything that doesn't allow you to know, be, perceive, and receive this information with total ease, will you not destroy and uncreate it all? Right from good, bad, what, or natural, boy, go, and beyond. You are the only person you can actually compete with, okay? And the only person you can match up to. So everything that doesn't allow you to know that, will you not destroy and uncreate that thing? Right from good, bad, what, or natural, boy, go, and beyond. And you can begin each morning by saying, okay, just for today, I will be greater than yesterday. When you start looking to be greater than you were yesterday, you will start creating a generative possibility with every choice that you make. Okay. Now, very interesting. When you offer contribution to someone who's doing competition with you, when you offer to contribute to them, it immediately fries all of their circuits, and it bursts their paradigms, and it literally takes them out of competition. So what would that create? What would functioning from a space of contribution create for everyone, including your competitors? What would that create? That space shows up when you're willing to trust yourself, when you own and acknowledge your worth and value. That's when you can actually choose to show up like that and offer that contribution that you can be to them. Okay. So now when you're aware of someone is functioning from competition, ask, what contribution can I be to get them into contribution, or to get myself into contribution rather than competition? And everything that doesn't allow that, times the gazillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all, please? Right, wrong, good, bad, what, work, online, short, voice, go ahead, and beyond. So just know, as long as you stay in question, the competition will not exist in your world. Because the moment you start perceiving competition, you say, okay, cool, wow, that's interesting. This person is choosing to show up like that. What do I have to be and do to outcreate this? What else is possible here? Okay. Now, when you are looking at, say, okay, and how can I use this information to my advantage? So when you're talking about taking advantage, that means you don't waste your time, your energy, or your money, and you start creating instead. Okay. Taking advantage means you're not wasting your time, your energy, or your money, and you start creating instead. You are taking advantage of your awareness, not of other people, okay, to create a greater possibility. When I'm talking about taking advantage of this information, it is you're taking advantage of your awareness. You're not taking advantage of those people, okay? So taking advantage is really like literally taking everything you are and everything you can be and going, okay, how can I use this to my advantage? So suppose, like, for example, certain people are very good at creating debt. So, for example, if you're really good at creating debt, you can say, okay, how can I use this to my advantage? Now, you might wonder, how can you use debt, creating debt to your advantage? Okay, so you can say, okay, how can I compete sufficiently to be beyond debt? What do I have to be and do to outcreate that? What led me to this debt? What was my thought process? What do I need to be aware of? And how can I use that awareness to my advantage to get rid of the debt? So that's what it is. Okay. So sometimes there is a flip side to the competition. So if you're trying not to take advantage of your awareness because you don't want other people to lose, that is the other side of competition, where even though you're aware of certain things, but you're not willing to act on it because you don't want the other person to lose, because you don't want them to feel bad or whatever, then it's the other side of competition where you're pulling yourself down deliberately, and that does not create. So you have to stop judging yourself and stop competing yourself into mediocrity. Because when we are not looking at choosing greater because others are not at our level and we don't want them to feel bad, then we are competing ourselves into mediocrity, and that's not going to create. Like, for example, a lot of your family members or your not necessarily your immediate family, but maybe your cousins or the people you hang around with or your friends circle might not necessarily be doing as well as you are doing, right? So if you choose greater for yourself, you'll realize that you might end up losing them. So what you'll do instead of choosing more for yourself, you start competing yourself into mediocrity where you're trying to match up with them. That's not going to create. So when you're with somebody, you will compete to prove that you are like them in some way. Okay. So what's stopping you from competing, or why don't you compete to prove that you're totally different from those people? What would that create? So if you don't see what you're capable of, if you don't see the assets you have, then you can't use those assets for yourself. And then you'll have to use them against you. And that's where you end up getting stuck and wondering why things are not moving and shifting. Why am I embroiled in all these things that are not even fun for me? Why am I distracting myself? Okay. So you have to use your assets in every way you can to take advantage of every situation that comes along, just so that you can create a different reality. Okay. All right. So how many of you do not allow yourself to be everything you are so that you don't take advantage of other people? Okay. So when you do that, when you don't allow yourself to be everything you are, then other people take advantage of you. So how many of you are spending your life trying not to be taken advantage of? And how many judgments do you have to have in order to determine that you have been taken advantage of? And truth, can anyone else take advantage of you unless you give them an opportunity? Okay. Everything that brought up, let's destroy and uncreate it all, right from good, bad, or call and shall boil forward and beyond. So what stupidity are you using to create taking advantage as an absolute non-reality, and to make you always wrong, never right, and never having or being more than what you currently have, and always making a level playing field are you choosing? Everything that is times a concilium, will you destroy and uncreate it all, please? Right from good, bad, or online shall boil forward and beyond. And what stupidity are you using to create the invention, the artificial intensity, and the demons of never taking advantage of your awareness to create huge amounts of money with ease are you choosing? And everything that is times a concilium, will you destroy and uncreate it all, please? Right from good, bad, or online shall boil forward and beyond.
Smriti.
Hi, Shilpa.
Hi. Hi.
Did you join? I didn't see that. Yeah.
So when you were really talking about this, people you taken advantage of. So most of the time, like when you're operating from a space of generosity of spirit, that's when you do realize sometimes, you get taken advantage of. And probably, yeah, with access, there's no rightness or wrongness about it. But how do you like,
No. Let me get back to you. Can anyone take advantage of you unless you're giving them the opportunity?
can you talk a little more about that? Yeah, because I mean, you don't consciously like go around letting people take advantage of you, but there is that sense of generosity of spirit that you may have too, right? Like,
So
so can you talk a little?
if you have that generosity of spirit, uh, then that's what you're choosing to be, and that's fine. But if you turn that around, that, oh, I have the generosity of spirit, now people will take advantage of me, then that's what you'll start creating. Then you will end up creating people who would be just piling onto you just so that they can take advantage of you. And somewhere, maybe that's what you identify with at times. And if you're not willing to see your worth and value, you end up allowing such people to show up in your world. And that's not fun, right? What if you can be totally aware of what others are being? What if you can actually totally be aware of that, yeah, maybe people are also using you, and ask at that moment, okay, truth, is this creating greater for me? Is this creating greater? Not necessarily for you also, just in general, will this create greater? Will this contribute? And then just follow the energy. If you're functioning from a space of give and take, that does not really contribute. If you're functioning from a space of gifting and receiving, that opens up more space. Like a lot of calls that I do, I give a lot of information. There is not, and if someone asks me something, if there's any way I can contribute, I don't hold myself back because no, I am supposed to like lead them on or something. It's not never like that. Every time I'm conducting any of these calls, it's not with the purpose that, oh, everybody who's here on this call have to choose classes with me. What I'm giving them is an awareness of a possibility of things that they can choose. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with me, it can be with anyone else. But the universe starts gifting to me, right? I might not receive from the people who I'm giving to, but I start receiving. My whole world just starts expanding because I'm willing to and choosing to be that contribution, right? So when you start looking at the bigger picture of what you're being in the world, then you're willing to receive from every molecule. It doesn't necessarily have, you don't necessarily have to receive from the people you're giving to. Do you get it? But if you have a point of view that you're being taken advantage of, where are you not willing to acknowledge your worth and value? Right? Nobody can make you feel a particular way unless somewhere you are choosing to be that energy with yourself. Cool. Just so anytime you're communicating with people, ask also what can they receive. Sometimes when you're giving too much to a person who's not willing to receive that much, then they will make you wrong for it.
Yes, Smriti. So, just in context to this,
Your voice is cutting off, Sonu.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. That what do I do? Because I know that they will not be able to receive. Because minute I start talking what I do in energy world, they will distract me or they'll shift to another topic.
Yeah. So is it about, so what you need to do is be present. Okay, cool. What information can I give them that they're willing to receive? And also instead of concluding that,
Yeah.
I know all these things, like initially what had happened when I came into Access and I came across all these tools, and I would be like, hey, you should do this. This is going to contribute to you and you should. And I did that with quite a few of my friends. And there was one couple who I tried my best to create a change for them because they were going through a situation in their life which was really not really contributing to them. How much I tried to help them, I offered them free sessions, I gave them all possible information, I gave them tools, and they just turned around and made me wrong for that. And I was like, hold on, what just happened here? And that's it. So people sometimes are not really willing to receive. And
I've passed that stage, of gifting, over gifting them and all that. This is what I was also, this also came into my awareness that I have concluded that they will not be able to get what I'm doing,
Yeah.
what you said. So, yeah. Thank you.
So that's fine. Who can you inspire by choosing greater for yourself?
Yeah.
Right? There will be people who will pull you down, and then that's okay. But where are you choosing, allowing yourself to be pulled down by other people's
So
points of
it's a very funny thing. Right now, my body is asking for a lot of face packs, natural face packs, So I'm doing it. So one of the family member indirectly told me, you to have a facelift, no? Why do you require this? And I'm like, oh, like what I mean to say. It was very difficult for me to be interesting point of view at that point of time. And I'm like, she's using my things against me,
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Yes. Anyone else have any questions? Hi, Pramod. How are you?
Hi, Smriti. I was surprised. I double checked the time to see if AM was PM or PM was AM. And then when I
Today it was AM because I was actually conducting a class in the morning. Yeah, so then I just thought it's better this time. Let me just continue with it.
I just want to add, or perhaps you can clarify the point that Shilpa was making. First of all, I don't know. I'm surprised that she and I are agreeing on some point eventually today, which has never been like anything before. But with the whole generosity of spirit thing, isn't it also about avoiding the people that we think are going to take advantage of, and hence we invite more of them unconsciously just because we're avoiding them so much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're being that energy, not from generosity of spirit, but from if you have a point of view that you're giving too much, ask yourself, okay, what's the value of giving too much? Okay, if it's bothering me, why am I giving too much? Right? But if you're giving, if you are functioning from a generosity of spirit, just look at what creates for you. What if you acknowledge that that's what creates for me? Not from a space of, oh, others are not doing it and why am I doing it? And, then people will go to them and not me and so on because they anyways get so much information from me. What you need to realize and what most people don't realize is what you're giving here is just 1% of all the information that you have, right? And if they're choosing to go to others, then that's their problem, that's their choice, and frankly, it's their loss, right? When you acknowledge and own the worth and value of you, then you will not be stuck with, oh, this one has gone there, that one has gone there. That is functioning from total competition. That's not going to create. Then you're just functioning from a space that there's not enough for everyone. Then you're just looking at those few players, and that's not going to create. What if you look at the whole world and what contribution you can be to the whole world, right? It's not only always about money. It's about the energy that you're percolating further out into everybody else. When you are being a particular energy, you're inspiring certain people. You have no idea who you're inspiring also, right? But eventually you'll get to hear from people, oh, hey, I'm so glad you were being that energy because that contributed to me, or whatever, that you get to know much later, right? So I would just say, trust yourself, own and acknowledge your capacity and your potency, and just be. Choose your own reality. Choose whatever's fun for you. Okay. What also happens is when we compete, we end up buying a number of lies. Okay. First of all, one of the lies is that competition is even possible. Okay. as an infinite being, are you not unique? And how could you actually compete with anyone else? Like, for example, can an apple compete with a kiwi? Not really, right? That idea will be absurd. So each person has completely unique properties. And like, okay, each of these fruits have completely unique properties, yet they both fit into the category of fruit, but they're very, very different. You can't mix both, right? So when you're choosing to be an infinite being who's acknowledging that they are infinite beings, competition is just meaningless for them. Nothing. Uh, competition is meaningless because of our own uniqueness. Okay, it's the yeah.
It's like, you say you get it when you get it, right?
Yeah.
The point you made,
Yeah.
the point you made earlier, it's my
Yeah.
voice echoing somewhere.
So when, like, let's take for example, like in an Olympic game or competitive sports, like say gymnastics. Okay, are the competitors really competing against their opponents, or are they actually competing against themselves? So you can choose to outcreate everything that you were yesterday. Every day you can choose to be a greater version of you, right? Instead of looking at what others are doing, because then you're focusing on pulling them down. Or if suppose like a gymnast, like one of these competitive games, if one of the gymnasts, if the competitor has a lousy day or an injury or something, then that's when you win. That's not going to create much, right? Because what have you won against? Somebody who actually fell down or couldn't perform that day, right? If that is your way of winning, that's not going to create much. What if you keep on outcreating everything that you have been and keep choosing more and more and more? And what would that create? So when you are competing against your own personal best, that's what will create more for you. Okay. So you are the only person you can truly compete with.
It's interesting. I was having this conversation with an entrepreneur yesterday, and he was of the firm belief that you can only compete against yourself to some extent because your beliefs are limited and you always need someone to compete against.
You can look at people to be inspired by them, not from
Precisely the point I made. I said every person that does better than me is an inspiration because they're showing me a different possibility. That's about it. I have to acknowledge their presence and be grateful for them to show me that this is it, because sometimes I have concluded that this is the best I can do, and someone comes along the way and shows that something else is possible, and then I can look beyond where I had concluded what is. But he just felt that there's always requires to be another person out there, otherwise you become limited. Just remember that conversation from yesterday.
So if you look at competition as trying to prove that you're the best, what does that indicate you actually believe about yourself and your business? That you're worthless, right? So if you really knew how great you are, you wouldn't continue trying to prove to yourself. What would you have to prove? Not really. Okay. So
Meaning what?
Smriti, can I ask a
Elaborate on that,
question here?
yeah, 1 minute. So competition, when seen from this point of view, is constant choosing against yourself. And that might make
against yourself. That's
yeah.
the key.
Yeah. So that might make a business more of a struggle. Okay, especially when you're looking at competition from that perspective. Especially when someone had said, it's like constantly trying to prove myself. So if you are trying to, if you really knew how you were as great as you're trying to prove you are, would you have to prove it? When you look at people when they're talking to you and say, hey, I do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and it's going to be really good. I'm really good at this. People don't go by what people are saying, go by their action. Okay. If you were really good, you won't have to go around telling people how good you are. They will just know it, and you will just own and be that energy, right? One look at you, people will just know that, yeah, we can trust this person and this person will deliver. But if someone is constantly just saying, you know how good I am and I will do a good job, I will do a good job, those are the people you have to be very careful with. Yes, Shilpa.
Smriti, here you were, you were sometimes like talking about, so sometimes you have a very similar product that, and then there's so many of us having the same product. So it's really, the product is not something that you're really talking about, because the product is the same product that many people are making it available. And here, when you're talking about how do you constantly be that cutting edge or creative edge rather, because the product is the same. If I really talk about classes, for example, with Access, now the Access classes are the same. We have different facilitators who are trying to pretty much teach the same from the same manual, right? Pricing is the same. Everything is the same. And then here your talk. So how do you then say, how is competition really not relevant here? Like, in a way,
Yeah, I mean, even with the Apple and Kiwi example, when you were doing that, I was like, it's not, Apple and Kiwis are very distinct, so
correct.
it's understandable. But what about
how is one apple better than the other? Like,
yeah, really, I think Smriti, something about today, Shilpa and I are agreeing on too many things. It has to be a historic day.
I know, probably it's the lunch. Bangalore is suiting him and me, I think.
I met up with her in Bangalore, so that's why the background. Okay. Yes, Smriti, please.
What is your question? Like, can you just...
So the same thing, right? You said apple, two different fruits have different things, like apple and kiwi as the examples you gave. What about apple and apple? Is that competition? And how is one apple different?
Are two different facilitators, apple
how can Shilpa compete with Pramod? Let me ask you that.
Facilitators can be an apple, a kiwi, a banana, or something, an orange, right? And they can still be conducting the Access classes. And what each facilitator, the uniqueness of that facilitator, the space that they hold for their participants, the contribution that they are, is what will make the participants choose. And that doesn't mean like, oh, this one is being a contribution in this way, so I need to be like that. What is so unique about you, right? If you had to choose your classes, what would make you choose classes with yourself? What if you can choose to be that energy, right? What do you look for when you're choosing a facilitator? What if you could choose to be that, right? And then also, if you're getting worked up about someone made an inquiry with you, someone inquired with you about a particular class, but then they went to someone else. Okay, cool. Maybe that one would contribute more. It's okay, right? If you start going into, oh my God, what just happened? This person, I spent so much time trying to convince this person, and now that person has gone to someone else. That's all to create. Also, please realize what is the energy of being. If you're being an energy of needy, and if there's a needy energy, then that's what pushes people away. That's not going to create, right? If you can literally withdraw a bit, what would that create? Just be very present to that. That needy energy is a pushy energy which will push people away. Okay. And sometimes people might not choose with you at that moment, but they will choose eventually. And even if they don't choose, that's okay. That's okay. What if you start looking at a bigger picture? When you don't look at just creating classes to create things for you, what if you're looking at creating a bigger world? What is your purpose, especially with Access? Creating a more conscious world, right? So if you focused on that, people will show up. If your focus is not on, oh, I need to get people to attend my classes, that's just, you're just focusing on one aspect of it. Is that why you chose this? Or what did you choose Access for? How can you use to a different, creating more for you? Yeah.
Yeah. So see, here you're talking about Access from an Access space, but sometimes or most of the times people don't do business from that space of really being a contribution to society in general. It's more about me doing business for myself and how can I like, make a little more money there. I mean, it's not really about
So then that shows,
social welfare or whatever.
right? And then people who are choosing that energy, show up for them. What if you did not have to just depend on one business? What if you were creating multiple businesses where you don't have to function from a needy energy at all? What if you do not put everything on this particular business? What would that create? Right? Again, relax into receiving. There's so much more you can receive. Sometimes people don't show up because you're being a needy energy. Sometimes people don't show up because even though you're asking for a lot, are you even willing to receive it? Sometimes people don't show up because maybe you're not vibrationally compatible with what you're putting out in the world. So, or what you're asking for in the world. So just be present to that.
So my
Sonali,
take
there's a
on the,
question. Sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just
So
saying,
my
Sonali
take on
asked
the
the
Apple.
question. How to get out of needy, how to
Sorry,
get out of the
Sonu.
needy energy is what she's asked, Smriti.
Dennis, go ahead.
I think Sonu was talking. Sonu, you can go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I thought it was Sonu. Yes, Sonu.
No, I said Sonali's put in a question in the chat saying, how do you get out of the needy energy?
How to get out of needy energy? First of all, acknowledge that that's what you're being. And say, okay, what if I was not functioning from a space of need? What choices would be available for me? What other opportunities would show up for me? Cool. I should have started this class at 9 o'clock and not 8:30.
Thank you, Smriti. Thank you so much. I do have Sonali here. I actually do it sometimes. Like I work through needy energy, like especially when I do have client meetings and all, and I want it to be a positive one, like or either I assume like no, I mean I should get the meeting positive, like so. Yeah, I do function from needy energy at times, like, but I don't want to actually. But आ जाता है वो कभी कभी.
So sometimes, sometimes you'll come across people who say, okay, I'm not competitive. But then that alone proves that you're competitive, just the fact that you have to say it or, speak about it. So also competing with yourself is still competition, even though I was mentioning otherwise earlier. It is based on a judgment that you're not enough and less than, okay? So there's also an element in it that includes the desire to be a contribution. So what you can do is, you can shift this by asking yourself this question: how can I use this need to be a contribution to take advantage of everything, to contribute to everything, and to make that an advantage in life? So what contribution would stepping away from competition be to your life and business? And what if you did not have anything to lose? What would be created for you in your business then?
Wow.
So what sets you apart from competitors is your energy. When you were talking about offering the same product, what sets you apart from your competitors is your energy. They can copy your product, they can copy your branding, they can emulate whatever you're doing, but they will never have your unstoppable energy and vibe. Okay, and that's what sets you apart.
Wow.
Start owning and acknowledging that. That's what it creates. Okay. So how can you actually navigate and get around so that competition never, ever, ever becomes an issue for you and your business? What?
Thank you.
And also, like for example, with Access Business and especially as facilitators, what image are all of you functioning from that manifests as competition and the need to be seen? Okay, everything that stands for Godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all, please? Right, wrong, good, bad, for folk, financial, void, poet, and beyond. how many of you have created your entire business as a facilitator based on the needs of people? That's how I want to create, because now you're trying to fit into the image that you think they need. What are you? What is the unique about you? Own and acknowledge that capacity. The energy of you is an invitation. So when you're looking at talking about these tools, you have to start being these tools, and people will just follow. Right? That's what it is.
So which essentially means if competition is showing up, I am functioning from competition, hence it's showing up, isn't it?
What? Sorry, can you say?
So essentially what it is if competition is showing up in my world, I am being vibrationally compatible with that point of view and aligning with competition, hence it's showing up. Otherwise it would be irrelevant.
Okay, yeah, one is that. Secondly, if there is competition showing up, where are you making them less? And where are you making them greater? Right? When people are competing with you, own and acknowledge your greatness. Wow, that's interesting that they're choosing to show up like this. And they're looking at competing with me. What do I have to be and do to out-create?
Oh, the favorite thing that you say in the face of, so competition is essentially a form of judgment. And in the face of judgment, turn up your potencies even more, which you say. So,
in the face of judgment, turn it up. And the thing is, don't look at others to choose for yourself. Don't try and fit in with their needs or the client's needs. Like people, like especially for example, when you are putting out a class or a product into the market, and when you reduce the pricing because somewhere you feel other, then you have an advantage because it's priced less, then more people will choose that. That's where you're already choosing to discount yourself, and that does not really create. Right? That's why we never allowed to discount access classes.
can I ask a controversial question?
Yeah.
So many products in facilitators' shops are on discount at this time of the year around Thanksgiving. What is that about?
That's exactly about what I just mentioned, right? One is from us offering it from a space of gifting. And if you look at, say, if you look at Shannon and other facilitators who are offering things, they will offer one small product or few products, but they will also offer other products where they'll be like, hey, this is a possibility. And to receive that, you have to buy it, right? So they will, sometimes it's just from a spirit of generosity, of gifting, and receive it. It's not to make anyone else less. It's just from a space of, hey, these are the things available. What would it take? Right? And yeah, it creates. And sometimes you have to follow an energy of what it create for you. Like long back, I had to go to attend some class and I was falling short of some money. And I just offered 3 sessions for a price of 1. And within a few hours, I'd already created the amount that I needed for that particular travel, whatever I needed to attend a class. So sometimes when you're really stuck, you don't know how to go about it. How can you use this awareness to your advantage and to still continue choosing what it is that you desire, right? But that wasn't really fun for me eventually, because it's like you give more than 100% in your sessions, and when you're discounting those sessions, it doesn't really create for you. So that was the lesson learned. Sometimes you choose to learn the lessons hard way. So see what works for you. Otherwise, it starts taking its toll on your body. It does not create much. Cool. So thank you so much. I think we're done with today's call. It's been 1.5 hours already. Okay, so just remember, you know what will set you apart from your competitors? It's your energy. Okay. They can copy your product, your branding, they can copy you, but they will never ever have your unstoppable energy and vibe. Okay, so leave you on that note. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I'm just so grateful for each one of you.
You never leave us, Smriti, you're always with us. That's the best part.
Yeah, true. Smriti, before you sign off, can you please plug in your class details, please? That is something I have to reminding
like
into
10 days straight through, starting from 6th Jan, right? All the way till 16th, you have classes, your calendar.
Oh yeah, thanks for reminding. See, I forgot about that also.
Selfish host trying to plug in something.
And unselfish, not even host, unselfish, you just say.
So
I'm
I
glad
have
you finally came around, Shilpa, am I?
So I have a business and different class coming up on 6th, 7th, and 8th of January, and it is my most favorite class. It's really contributed so dynamically to me, and it continues to contribute very dynamically to all the people who have attended this. This particular class is a BDD with an advanced JCF. So if you're attending the class with me, you also get to it fulfills the criteria
Qualifies.
or
Qualifies.
prerequisite for renewing your CF license
And your BF license.
your
and-
advanced facilitator license and your all the rest of the licenses. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else?
And it's a new manual.
Yeah, it's a brand new manual.
And it can be attended online.
Yes, so it can be attended live in Mumbai as well as online. And then I have some interesting
Other classes.
speciality intros coming up. There is mental disorders and entities, there's relationship and entities, and there is I've forgotten what all. There's money and entities. There will be a few of these coming up, and there's spirits of the earth and entities. So there'll be all these things coming up.
Do you want me to read them out, Smriti? I have your poster.
Okay.
Yeah. So 6th to 8th is business done different.
Okay, go ahead.
6th to 8th is business done different with you in Mumbai and online, followed by talk to the entities intermediate. That's a one-day class on 9th of January. 10th and 11th, you have the specialty classes, which are walk-ins, money and entities and relationships, and spirits of the earth. All of these are half-day classes. 12th to 15th is the foundation, which is only live in Mumbai. And then Smriti's decided to give herself a little bit of a breather. And she starts her half-yearly program, which is Fast Track Your Business. I will just say it's a fabulous class. I attended it last year. And for more of it, you can talk to me, you can talk to Smriti, and we will give you all the information.
So Fast Track Your Business is a monthly mentorship call where you'll be interacting with me. There'll be a call with me every week. That call will include personal facilitation. It'll include group facilitation. It'll include a whole lot of insights about creating a business. It'll include a whole lot of variety of things. And it's like one call with me each week for the next 6 months. So it's an amazing mentorship program. It really, I'll be conducting a separate call for that, just for that, to explain more in details about it. And you have the option of paying upfront. That's the cost of that. And you also have the option of paying it monthly or half yearly, and two the things. So, all right, thank you so much, guys. I'll talk more about that call later. Thank you. So grateful for each one of you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.